Memory Lockets are a critical part of the powering up process in Hollow Knight Silksong. They allow Hornet to unlock additional tool slots for her various crests, and this contributes to her ability to evolve the Hunter's Crest and unlock the Vesticrest. There are 18 Memory Lockets that can be unlocked in Acts 1 and 2 of the game, all of which will be covered in this guide. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. Before getting started, I organized this guide so that we are getting the Memory Lockets in an order that I've found to be the easiest to follow while progressing through the game. That being said, if you don't have all Act 1 and 2 traversal abilities, you may want to pull up the guides I have on getting those. I'll leave links to them near the bottom of this video's description. The first Memory Locket that we can get is also one of the only two that requires a simple key. Starting at the Marrow Bellway, we will move west and through Mosshome, going down into the west where possible. There is a gap that we need to cross above Bone Bottom, and either the Swift Step or Skilled Needle Pogos are required to get over it. We'll then have to pass through a long horizontal chamber that is at first guarded by a Kragler mini-boss. It only drops a Beast Shard when defeated, basically a bunch of shell shards, and it is better to leave it for later. At this point, we're better off just sprinting through to the other side of the chamber. This is where the simple key is required to open a locked door that leads into the Wormways region. As far as uses for simple keys go, this is a good one for your first key. Moving west through the Wormways, we'll need to drop down into the first hole we see. Going down into the west, we'll then need to go up a short tube and into another chamber/area. Moving further west, we'll pass over a single tube, jump over a spike pit, then drop down the next tube and start moving east. At the bottom east corner of this area is our first Memory Locket. It's the earliest one we can get, though definitely not the easiest. Also, I'm trying something new in this guide video and using map markers to show where the items are. In this case, they are the gold shell icons to start, and the silver ring icons after I run out of the shell icons. For an easy Memory Locket, we can move to the Far Fields Bellway after unlocking the Drifter's Cloak, or possibly even before that. There is probably a way to get to the Pilgrim's Rest without the Drifter's Cloak, but it's very easy to reach via the airstreams once we do have it. In any case, Pilgrim's Rest is at the top east corner of this tube. We'll need to pay some rosaries to enter for the first time, but can then break the gear that causes the door to close back up on the inside, so that we don't ever need to pay to enter again. Inside there is a merchant named Mort, and I already bought it, but he usually has a Memory Locket for sale. After unlocking the Drifter's Cloak and defeating the 4th Chorus boss, we should have a new quest to take at the Bone Bottom mission board, the Volatile Flintbeetle's Hunt. That said, I'm going to save it for after we get the Cling Grip ability, as having that will allow us to efficiently grab a couple of other lockets while we do the quest. Memory Locket number 3 is easy to get and is right next to the Greymoor Bellway. There is a breakable wall to the west. After breaking it, we can drop down through a hole, leap over the first gap to the west, defeat or dodge a Might Mother, then move above it to grab this Memory Locket. This next locket technically can't be obtained until after getting double jump, but let's just cover it now because of how quick it is. At the halfway home in Greymoor, we can double jump up to the west to reach a small alcove and grab the Memory Locket. Shellwood is west of Greymoor and is where the Cling Grip ability is unlocked. With that, we can go back to Bone Bottom to start the Flintbeetle's Hunt quest and get a couple other Memory Lockets as we complete it. After starting the Flintbeetle's Hunt, we will move east into the Marrow. The first of 3 Flintbeetles is near the top of the first chamber, just past an easy platforming section. From there, we will move up and to the east, and hopefully you've already unlocked the shortcut for this path. If not, you can also reach this area pretty quickly by moving east and up from the Marrow Bellway. We should see the trail for the next Flintbeetle just above some Carronids and a Skull Brute. We can follow it into the chamber above, then platform up to the top of that chamber to find the beetle. After defeating it and grabbing the flint gem, we can drop down to the east and enter the small chamber there. Cling grips are required to reach the top of 2 small rooms, where a short battle will commence. Afterwards, we can grab our 5th Memory Locket. We will then do a bit of backtracking and return to the chamber near the Marrow Bellway. From there, we'll move east into and through another chamber. We must get up and over the platforming section involving the red flowers. I made this easier with double jump, but it can be done with just Drifter's Cloak and prior traversals. Dropping down on the other side, we will find our 3rd and final Flintbeetle, which can be defeated to get our last flint gem. We can return to Bone Bottom at any time to turn in our flint gems and get the Memory Locket, but for now, let's keep moving east to get our 7th Memory Locket. Just over to the east, we can drop down and enter the nearby prison to rest at a bench. We'll then need to go up 1 floor and venture east through Hunter's March. There is a Scar Guard mini-boss guarding the entrance, and it must be defeated. We'll then move through Hunter's March, and the platforming in this area is a lot easier with either the Wanderer's or Reaper's Crest, and even more so once we have double jump. About halfway through, we will enter an arena where several waves of scars will need to be defeated. We can then keep moving east through a couple more platforming sections to reach a tall vertical chamber with an airstream going up the center of it. Dropping down to the bottom east chamber, we will need to watch out for a cage trap and Scar Stalker, then keep moving east. Past another airstream, we can break open a cage to get our 7th Memory Locket. Moving on to Bellhart, after we've unlocked the Needolin, we should be able to interact with the merchant, Frey. If he doesn't have the 8th Memory Locket for sale, we may need to complete the My Missing Courier quest first, but I'm almost 100% sure that it is available as soon as the shop opens for business. The 9th Memory Locket is obtained in Blasted Steps. I'll start by showing the path to open the Blasted Steps shortcut to the Shellwood Bellway station, and you can skip ahead to that starting point if you already have the shortcut unlocked. If you don't have this midway point shortcut opened in Shellwood, then you will have to go up and take the long path around. Make sure to unlock the shortcut to the east for the Shellwood Bellway, then move west towards Blasted Steps. After entering the steps, we will need to make our way to the end of the first major chamber and platforming section. A couple platforms just beyond a judge enemy, we can drop down and drift over to the west to find our 9th Memory Locket. The next 8 Memory Lockets are all obtained either in Act 2 or with Act 2 traversal abilities. The 10th Memory Locket can be obtained near the end of the secret path into Act 2, which I have an entire separate guide on and will link near the bottom of this video's description, as it's quite the journey. Assuming we've gone through that secret path, just before entering into the Grand Bellway from an access tunnel, we can break through some debris to the west and go grab this Memory Locket. For our 11th Memory Locket, we will start at the Underworks Vesticrest station, then move out and up one level, going into the upper west chamber. Past a couple of short platforming sections, we can follow a sign to a room with several rent-a-benches. While jumping to the upper level, we can then jump up again into a secret chamber, which will lead us to our next Memory Locket. Also, if you want the map for the Underworks, you will have to do a bit more platforming towards the west to reach this chamber that I marked with the black shell icon. Our next 2 Memory Lockets are both obtained near the Songclave bench. We will start by moving up to the west, passing 2 Grand Reeds, and jumping up into the Memorium region. Starting from the Memorium bench, we will move up into the east, going through the section with enemies from the Marrow. After passing a Rhino Grund, we will enter a new chamber where we need to platform our way up one floor, then move west into the Shellwood themed chamber. The platforming to reach the Memory Locket in this chamber can be deceptively difficult, and I found it best to use ranged tools to clear the Gallia enemies that are set up along it. This next part is to unlock the Songclave shortcut into Whispering Vaults, and you can skip ahead if you already did that. Moving back to our previous bench near the Memorium's entrance, we can drop back down into Coral Chambers and move west to a boss room where the Cogwork Dancers must be defeated. After we do that and interact with the center console, we can enter the Cogwork core through one of the newly opened floor panels, and then move west into the room with a free bench and map station. I know, crazy that anything is free in the Citadel, but there you go. From here, we will need to drop down into the east past several Cogwork bugs. After reaching a low point, we will then need to platform our way up and to the east. There should be a shortcut gate that we can open to the west as we go up, and from there we will move through the door that is up and east. We will then go east through one last chamber to exit the Cogwork core. Hitting the lever in the next chamber will rotate the wheel passage so that we can move through it horizontally, taking us to the Whispering Vaults. There are several boxes throughout this area that can be moved along rails, and we will hit one of these to the west, then wall jump up to an arena. Several waves of enemies must be defeated here, and I'm not sure why, but I had a tough time with this. In any case, once all enemies are defeated, we can move down and east, officially entering the Whispering Vaults. Just beyond a scroll reader, we can hit a drop-down ladder in the top east corner of the room. This opens a path up to where we can purchase the Whispering Vaults map, as well as a shortcut back to the Songclave bench, which we should rest at before going back to the vaults. Starting from Songclave, we will move down through the Whispering Vaults shortcut that we just opened. We'll move down the first big chamber in a zigzag pattern, then move through the bottom east chamber to reach another large chamber. Dropping down near the bottom of this chamber, there are two boxes that we will need to move to the east by striking them. We can then strike the higher of the two boxes to move it up, and use it to jump up and reach a secret passage in the top east corner of the chamber. First moving up, then to the west, we will find our 13th Memory Locket. The 14th Memory Locket will potentially involve a lot of travel. Our ultimate destination is the Sands of Karak, and the closest fast travel point to it is the Blasted Steps Bellway. Skip ahead if you already have it unlocked, but I'll first show how to get there, starting from the Shellwood Bellway station. From the Blasted Steps Bellway, we will need to make our way to the Sands of Karak, and we can unlock the Needle Strike ability along the way. We'll need to move out east, then drop down into the west, following the sign with the needle icon on it. Before we can reach the Pinstress's hut, we'll need to defeat the Great Conchfly's boss. Moving west from the boss chamber, we can use our double jump to take an expedited path to the Pinstress hut. This will serve as the first checkpoint on our way to get the Memory Locket, but while we are here, we can also speak with the Pinstress to unlock the Needle Strike ability or charged attack. To reach the Sands of Karak, we will need to exit the hut and Clawline along the rings to the west. Following this platforming path will take us to the entrance of the new region. There's also a new platforming mechanic introduced in the Sands, temporary platforms. We can smack yellow seeds at specific points, which will allow tree branches to grow and provide temporary platforming sections for us to move along. Some can be landed on, while others will serve as spots to pogo off of. While we are at the third solid platform, we can strike the nearby seed, then follow the platforming path up to the west to reach our 14th Memory Locket. I recommend continuing to move east from here before leaving, at least until you unlock the map for this region and the shortcut that is just a bit further up from it, which leads back down to the Blasted Steps Bellway. I'll go ahead and let the rest of the platforming up to that point play out, but you can skip ahead to the next Memory Locket if you've already done that. The 15th Memory Locket is very challenging to get and will also require a simple key. Starting from the Deep Docks Bellway, we will move east and follow the bench sign down. If we haven't already done so, we'll need to take a lift down to an arena and defeat multiple waves of enemies. This will allow us to access a nearby bench and the Forge Daughter Merchant. We should buy the Magma Bell tool and equip it, and I also recommend the Tacks, Cogwork Wheels, and Cogflies. Going back down to the arena, then east, we will reach a door that requires a simple key to open. After opening it, we'll move east through another 2 large chambers. At the bottom east corner of the second chamber, we can clawline a ring and pull it down to open a nearby room, then hit a lever on the floor panel and drop down. We will then need to move to the bottom west corner of this new chamber and strike an explosive to open the way ahead. We can't kill the enemy in this next chamber, so for now, we should just try to get past him. Climbing our way up the chamber that follows, there are a couple of shortcuts that we can open. The first is to the east and up past a couple of lava lugs. For the second, we will need to move back the way we came, then west across a sealed bridge. We can then jump up past a couple of spike traps and break a support beam to open the shortcut that is closest to our bench we rested at. That's a good thing because we will likely be running back to this upcoming boss fight a few times. I'll go ahead and start by showing that run back, then show the attempt to where I actually managed to defeat the boss. We'll start with Four Brother Cygnus, and I found just fighting him one-on-one without tools was a good way to start things off. When adds were summoned, I summoned some of my own Cogflies to help with them. Finally, when Four Brother Gron joined the fight, I pulled out all the stops and started spamming both Tacks and Cogwork Wheels to quickly dispatch Cygnus. The fight then got a bit calmer with just Gron, and after regenerating my tools, I summoned more Cogflies to help finish Gron off. However it's managed, after defeating the Four Brothers, we will move into the western chamber, then drop down a couple of levels and break through a wall. Carefully floating down a tunnel with superheated spikes will bring us to this 15th Memory Locket. For one of the last 3 Memory Lockets, we will need to get the Apostate Key and Putrified Docks. For the other 2, there is a tool in Putrified Docks that will make our collective lives so much easier, so let's go there first. We already covered how to get to the first bench in Memorium, so let's start there. From there, we'll make our way out and up, then move east through the Marrow region of the Memorium. After passing the Rhino Grund, we can move to the lower east chamber to find the map station for the Memorium. After buying that, we can perform a double jump and clamber up a hidden ledge to reach a long bridge going east. We'll climb our way up to the top of the Memorium's exterior, then move east with a series of clawlines and drifting. This should get us to a breakable wall near the eastern border, and we can break through it to reach the Putrified Ducts. We'll need to do our best to stay along the top elevated path here as we move east. There are a few nasty enemy types to look out for, but especially watch out for the vines hanging down from the Barnax, as they will snare and drag us up towards them. The snare can be broken with 4 taps of the jump input, and we can also speed through them with the Clawline ability to avoid being snared in the first place. After passing through the first large chamber, there should be a sign pointing towards a bellway down to the east. We can go unlock the bellway as well as the bench nearby. For many, this will be the last bellway station in the game. Let's go get the map for this area before moving on. Back out west from the bellway, we can then go down a couple floors and into the western chamber. There, we'll actually need to let a Barnack grab and pull us up some distance before breaking free. This will allow us to reach an otherwise inaccessible chamber, which contains the map we are looking for. We don't technically need this next tool, but it will provide us with resistance to the Muck Maggot condition, which will make our lives just so much easier. Moving back out of the map chamber, we can then go down and east into a larger chamber. We will need to move almost completely to the east side of the chamber, then perform a combination of wall climbing, claw lining, and double jumping to get up to and through a breakable wall. Having some cogflies out here would have definitely made this part easier. Anyways, we will then move back west, now along the topmost part of this chamber. We can then take the exit to the chamber above and move east. Outside a dilapidated hut is the Wreath of Purity, which is one of the most beautiful tools in the entire game as far as I'm concerned. We could save and quit, but since we are here, we may as well take the super secret path back to the Bellway station. To get there, we will need to navigate a platforming section in which we actually allow Barnax to pull us up some distance before breaking free, then air jump and dash over to the next Barnack tentacle to proceed further. I was personally having a pretty hard time with this section for a bit, but eventually got it down. At the end of this path, we'll find a special flea NPC, and we can speak through all of their dialogue to get them to join up with the other fleas. Also, the floor to the west of them will collapse when stood on, bringing us back to the Bellway. Now we just need to get the key of the Apostate, and we can equip the Wreath of Purity to make getting it easier. To get the key, we will move out to the west, drop to the bottom of the chamber, and then break open the bottom west exit and move through it. There is a very unfortunately placed duct sucker that I used tools to defeat before moving further west down a tight corridor. The key of Apostate is found in the upper west corner of this chamber within a breakable cage. Before leaving, we may as well go visit an NPC at the bottom of this area. The Huntress is found within her very own hut, and we can speak with her multiple times to start the Blood Feast quest. We will need to break a wall to the east of her hut in order to get back up out of this area. The 16th Memory Locket is in the Slab, and I want to show the alternative way to reach this region, starting from the Grand Bellway. If you already have the Bellway at the Slab unlocked, then you can skip ahead. If this is the first time you are entering the Slab, then many of these shortcuts will not be open to you. You will instead need to follow the path that I take to reach the Bellway station. The 16th Memory Locket is very easy to reach from the Slab Bellway. We just need to move up through the nearby exit, then use the Apostate key to open the door to the east. We can cross over the large vertical chamber and enter the room on the other side. There's a hidden wall that we can jump up to and clamber up to reach a new chamber. Partway up the tube that follows, there is a wall that we can break to the east, revealing our 16th Memory Locket. The last two Memory Lockets are both in Bilewater and are nearest to the Bilewater Bellway. If you have the Bilewater Bellway station, you can skip ahead. If you want a more comprehensive walkthrough on how to reach it, with benches to rest at along the way, I recommend my guide on the secret path to Act 2. For everyone else, here is the very direct path I took to get to the Bilewater Bellway, starting from the halfway home in Greymoor. Before moving on, I recommend equipping the Wreath of Purity if you have it. I forgot to do that and ended up getting infected with muck maggots. The 17th Memory Locket is fairly close to the Bilewater Bellway. Moving out west, we will then platform up to the top east corner of this tall chamber and go through the somewhat hidden exit that goes in the upward direction. We can then break a wall up into the west to reveal a fairly short chamber and platforming section. At the end of it, we'll jump up a spiked tube to reach the Memory Locket. We could start back at the Bilewater Bellway for this final Memory Locket, but it's just about as easy to move down and east from our current location, back out into that tall vertical chamber. If you're starting from the Bellway, you'll need to move out and up to the top east of the vertical chamber. In either case, we will be moving out the exit that goes east from the top of that chamber. We will then need to move further east past several enemies until we see the telltale rings of Chakra, the map vendor, above us. Double jump will allow us to follow those rings towards where Chakra sells the map for Bilewater. Feel free to go grab it if you don't have it yet, then return back into this larger vertical chamber and begin platforming up. We will need to get past a few bloat roaches as we move up through this chamber, then exit into the upper east chamber, the one with several floating mothleaf lagnia. We can either utilize them as pogo points or just use our other traversals while avoiding them as we ascend to the top of this chamber. Our goal is to move through the top east exit. This will bring us to a long horizontal chamber with more mothleaf lagnia and some minor platforming elements. At the far end of the chamber, we can smack one of the two hanging cocoons to reveal the 18th Memory Locket and the final one that we can get in Act 2. There are 3 more Memory Lockets for a total of 20, which is enough to fully unlock all tool slots for all crests in the game. However, those are only available after reaching Act 3. 18 lockets should be more than enough until we get there though. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I will do my best to help. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat, her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Wednesday, and as always, thanks for watching.